The 2026 Oz Grand Prix had absolutely everything. Red flags, cancelled support races, and drama across the grid. I was fortunate enough to be at Albert Park this weekend, and trust me, some of the most interesting moments didn't even make it to the broadcast. So, here's my full recap of the race weekend, including Heartbreak for our Oscar Piastri, a standout rookie performance, and why the new battery regulations might already be shaping the championship fight for Formula One this year. Heartbreak for Oscar Melbourne curse continues. Let's start with the story most Australian fans were watching. It was a tough weekend for hometown hero Oscar Piastri. After showing promising pace throughout the weekend, his race ended before it even really began. Piastri had been very open in accepting responsibility for the mistake at turn 3, but there were also some technical concerns circulating the paddock, particularly related to battery management, with Piastri highlighting he had an extra 100 kilowatts of power than compared to qualifying. Unfortunately, the Melbourne curse continues, but if last season has taught us anything, it's that Oscar tends to bounce back pretty quickly. After a difficult weekend in Melbourne last year, he went on to win the Chinese Grand Prix the following round. So I wouldn't read too much into this result just yet. Another interesting storyline this weekend was at Racing Bulls. Linblad has looked extremely sharp since stepping into the second seat alongside Lawson. Across testing and most of the Australian Grand Prix weekend, Linblad looked to have the edge in outright pace, bar qualifying. Lawson also struggled with his race start, which hurt his chances of scoring points, particularly frustrating for the Racing Bulls team, given that both cars had the potential to finish inside the top 10. If this performance for Linblad is anything to go over for the next few rounds, Lawson could find himself under real pressure again within the Red Bull system. Does this mean Yuki's making a comeback? We'll have to wait and see. Then there's Max Verstappen, starting from P20 and fighting his way back to P6. The 4-time world champ once again reminds everyone why he's still the benchmark on the grid. It was an incredible recovery drive, especially considering Red Bull Racing had a difficult weekend overall with a technical DNF for Isaac Hadjar. Max highlights plenty of development is expected throughout the season for the team, and he still looks very capable of challenging George Russell for the Drivers' Championship. Speaking of challenges, one of the most entertaining battles this weekend came between Mercedes and Ferrari. The Silver Arrows finally showed the pace many suspected they'd been hiding during testing, but Ferrari also demonstrated strong potential, especially in qualifying, where both Charles Leclerc and McLaren's Oscar Piastri showed that Mercedes' single lap pace can be matched. Ferrari's strategy, however, once again raised questions. We saw a similar issue with last season when McLaren failed to pit under safety car conditions at the Qatar Grand Prix, and if Mercedes maintains this level of performance, we could be looking at an incredibly tight championship battle. And honestly, a 4-way title fight heading into Abu Dhabi this year, if it goes ahead, would be fantastic for the sport once again. Another standout team this weekend for me was Haas. Ollie Behrman continues to prove why he's so highly rated, and Haas continue to appear to have the season started in a way that makes them very competitive. Powered by their Ferrari engine, they look like they are the team most likely to lead the midfield battle, although they'll need to fend off pressure from Racing Bulls and a strong Audi F1 team as the season develops. Speaking of Audi, what a performance from Gabriel Bortoleto. Despite a poor launch and teammate Nico Hülkenberg's suffering a DNS, Bortoleto drove an incredible composed race to finish P9 and score points for the new Audi team. Principal Jonathan Wheatley already seems to have the organisation operating efficiently, and if development continues at this pace, Audi could become a serious contender in the midfield battle, something I highlighted during my Bahrain recaps. The overtaking debate rages on. New regulations were designed to increase overtaking, and statistically they have. The 2025 AusGP saw around 45 overtakes, whilst this year had almost 3 times that amount. From an FIA perspective, that's a clear success. But I, along with a number of others, think the reality is a bit more complicated. Many of these overtakes are being strongly influenced by battery deployment and energy harvesting, which can create huge speed differences, sometimes up to 40 kilometers an hour, particularly if the battery spills and that loss comes quickly. Whilst it makes overtakes look dramatic, they're not always a result of pure racing. Consequently, battery strategy, as I mentioned for Bahrain recaps, is one of the most important factors for this season. Melbourne reinforced this idea with several teams reporting battery concerns before race start, including both Mercedes cars, beginning the race with partially depleted systems. On the other hand, Ferrari appear to have mastered their launch strategy from a battery perspective, producing some of the fastest starts on the grid. This will definitely be a technical area to watch as the season unfolds. Speaking of observations, one of the more fascinating trackside moments I noticed involved Adrian Newey. The Aston Martin design legend was seen carefully studying both Ferrari and Mercedes cars on the grid, taking notes during the pre-race build-up, overtly in front of the other team members. Given the early season struggles of the Aston Martin package, it raises an interesting question. Is Newey already planning a major upgrade for later in the season, or are Aston Martin quietly focusing their efforts on influencing the next regulation cycle? Record attendance at Albert Park. From a fan perspective, the event itself was phenomenal. The race weekend smashed attendance records with 483,965 people attending across the 4 days at Albert Park. In perspective, that's more than the capacity of the Melbourne Cricket Ground field every day for that 4-day period. Despite the logistical challenges that come with crowds that size, the atmosphere was incredible. It's another reminder that Australia and the wider Oceania region remains one of the most passionate motorsport communities in the world. My final thoughts: overall, the 2026 Grand Prix in Australia was a fantastic way to open the season. There's still plenty of unknowns, and development across the grid will likely reshape the competitive order over the coming months. But if Melbourne is any indication, we could be in for a very exciting championship fight. Next up, China. Cheers.